Did you know some of the ocean's most dangerous creatures have never once survived inside an aquarium built by humans? The ocean's shrouded in many dark mysteries and secrets, with some secrets determining what it takes for the apex predators of the ocean to survive. It seems like there's some certain animals that refuse to be put inside a cage. These animals can range from not being able to stay alive in a tank for more than a few hours, to other animals going insane from the torture of having a small tank. Today I'm going to be looking at 9 sea animals that show again and again that some things can't be taken out of the sea. Starting with the great white, an animal most people imagine when they think of a true ocean horror. Many aquariums have tried and failed to hold one on public display, with every single attempt ending in the same way. In 2016, an aquarium in Japan captured a great white shark and put it on display in a tank called the Sea of Dangerous Sharks. Immediately after putting the shark in the tank, it stopped eating, with the shark's condition rapidly worsening every hour. The shark finally died within only 3 days of being put in the tank. Previously in 1984, a similar attempt was made, and after 11 days the shark died, refusing all food during that time period. Most recently in 2017, an 11.5-foot adult male was attempted to be held in captivity, making it the first adult great white shark ever held in a tank. Even this shark only lasted 3 days before passing away. The marine biologists who study great white sharks all seem to believe this is due to a specific biological reason in these sharks. Great whites are built to live in open waters. They have to travel through large amounts of ocean to allow water to go through their gills. The sharks then use that water to detect subtle pressure and electromagnetic cues to navigate and hunt across hundreds of miles. When you place these sharks into a tank, it disorients them in a closed space, which leads the sharks to repeatedly hit the tank walls. The disorientation also removes their basic drive to eat. Great white sharks were simply never designed to be able to tolerate an aquarium. Next we go to an ocean creature that is even stranger. The vampire squid lives around 600 to 900 meters down. At depths this deep, barely anything can survive. The regions plunge in constant darkness and near a total absence of oxygen, all with very extreme pressure. The uninhabitability of this area of the ocean led scientists to barely even photograph this squid alive. Then the Monterey Bay Aquarium in California did the impossible and managed to create a temporary display of the squid. The problem was keeping the squid fed was almost impossible. The vampire squid doesn't hunt, instead it just kind of drifts through the water. As the squid drifts through the water, it collects sinking organic debris known as marine snow. The issue is that biologists at the Monterey Bay Aquarium have no reliable source for marine snow. Instead, they had to make their own by combining cold seawater with fish eggs, krill, and jelly. Then they fed this to the squid through a turkey blaster. Even with this feeding process, the squid still couldn't survive. After a while, the biologist's only option was to return it to the ocean or have it die in the aquarium. The creature sadly died in captivity, as returning it back to the ocean wasn't possible for the researchers. Next is one of the smartest and most horrifying animals on the list, the orca. A lot of issues arise with orcas due to their intelligence, which allows them to remember and learn from the people who study them. Orcas have been held in marine parks for decades, leading to incidents occurring with the trainers who work with the orcas. Tilikum was a bull orca held at SeaWorld. Throughout his time in captivity, it was linked to 3 human deaths, with one of the deaths sadly being the killing of trainer Dawn Bronchu in 2010, when the orca pulled her underwater during an orca show. Tilikum was not the only orca who had incidents related to the trainers who worked with it. Other captive orcas such as Keto, Nootka 3, and Hydea 2 have also been linked to fatal or near-fatal attacks on the trainers who work with them. Researchers who work on orcas have extensively compared the lives of captive orcas versus wild ones and found that captive orcas die at almost 2.5 times the rate of wild ones, with many of those deaths being related to infection, stress, illness, and dental damage from chewing on the metal and concrete enclosures these animals were forced into. The main difference too is in the life of a wild orca. Wild orcas can travel up to 100 miles a day in complex family groups held together by their special whale dialects, and they have social bonds that can last a literal lifetime. When you take a social creature like an orca and put it into a concrete pool, no matter how large, it will not be able to replicate the life it needs in the wild. This then leads to the orca to display weird behavior, with the animal's dorsal fin collapsing to the side. The orca will also act distressed by circling the tank repeatedly, and lastly showing sudden violence toward trainers who love and care for these animals despite the bad conditions the orcas are placed in. SeaWorld has since banned trainers from entering the water with orcas altogether, though orcas should never be placed in a tank to begin with. The narwhal has one of the clearest and darkest examples of why some sea animals can't be caged on this list. In North America, there have only been 2 serious attempts to keep narwhals in captivity, with both ending in what researchers say were a complete disaster. First, a cat named Yumi Mac was airlifted to New York Aquarium in 1969. The animal sadly died of pneumonia less than a year later. During the same time, the Vancouver Aquarium captured 6 narwhals. Within months, all 6 were dead. with the calves passing away first, then the adults, until the tank was completely empty. No narwhal has ever lived longer than around 4 months in any documented captivity attempt, and no aquarium has even tried since. The species relies on the deep, cold Arctic waters and complex echolocation to survive. This can't be replicated in a tank, making the narwhal very confused. The narwhal needs certain pressure, temperature, darkness, and isolation to survive, which a tank sadly cannot provide. The leatherback turtle carries some more of its own quiet horror, with the issues being less about aggression and more about the sea animal going insane. Leatherback turtles are open swimmers, meaning they never stop moving. When you put them into a tank in captivity, they will repeatedly swim into the tank walls, which rip and destroy their own skin because they're not used to having to stop in the tank. When researchers at Florida Atlantic University attempted to raise leatherback hatchlings for a study, they had to put leeches on the young turtles to stop them from hurting themselves on the glass. The turtles' diet also compounds the problems. Leatherbacks eat almost nothing but jellyfish and salps. These low-calorie foods have to be replicated using a specialized gelatin mixture, and even then, it still causes dangerous digestion problems with the turtles. A rehabilitation case in Portugal in 2019 involved a 300 kilogram adult male leatherback that recovered after getting entangled in some fishing gear. Even with very careful veterinary care, the staff had to build a padded tank and put a daytime protective vest on the turtle to keep it from hurting itself before being released again. No aquarium is able to keep an adult leatherback on permanent display. Most aquariums simply say they would never have a leatherback turtle on display due to these issues. Even programs designed purely for conservation, like one run in Thailand, report that the survival rate for raising a single hatchling can be as low as 13% over a single year, with infection from the tank's water conditions being cited as the leading cause of death for these turtles. Few animals look as nice and dangerous at the same time the way a leopard seal does, with its history with humans carrying a documented death. In 2003, marine biologist Christy Brown of the British Antarctic Study was snorkeling near some ice in Antarctica when a leopard seal grabbed her and dragged her nearly 60 meters underwater repeatedly. She sadly drowned before she could be recovered. The researchers concluded the death was accidental, and after reviewing the case, suggested the seal may have mistaken her for prey or reacted defensively to her presence in its territory. Leopard seals are apex predators in Antarctica with the ability to kill other seals and penguins easily. While attacks on humans are rare, they are taken very seriously by every research team working near them. The Taronga Zoo in Australia kept a small number of rescued leopard seals between 1999 and 2014. The wide-scale captivity of the species has never once been done, as their habitat and hunting needs are almost impossible to reproduce outside the Arctic. Researchers who study leopard seals in the wild now treat dives very carefully, with teams dedicated to watching over the researchers to ensure their safety from the seals. The oarfish belongs on this list for a reason that leads into true horror. The oarfish never shows up unless something bad or terrifying has happened. Oarfish live at depths of 250 meters or more and almost never appear near the surface unless they are sick, dead, or dying. That trend is why the fish was given the nickname the Doomsday fish. In Japanese tradition, the oarfish is called the messenger from the sea god's palace and is sent to the surface as an earthquake warning. 20 oarfish reportedly washed ashore before the catastrophic 2001 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. In August of 2024, a 12-foot oarfish was found dead in La Jolla Cove in California, leading to a biopsy from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography. Scientists found that the fish surfaced during earthquakes was only an incorrect correlation, though the pattern of oarfish surfacing during its death still remains true. No aquarium has ever kept a live oarfish on long-term display. The sperm whale sits near the top of any list of animals that basically have to stay in the ocean. This monster whale has never been successfully held in captivity anywhere in the world. The diet alone would make the idea of caging it nearly impossible. An adult sperm whale can dive over 1,000 meters to hunt squid, including species like the colossal squid. It does this using echolocation with clicks. Only a few smaller relatives, like the pygmy sperm whale, have ever been briefly held for rehabilitation. Even those cases have been very short-lived. The scale of a sperm whale's world, its complex migration routes, its social dynamics, and the huge amounts of pressure it deals with while hunting can't be replicated by just a single facility. Luckily, this doesn't even have to happen, as in the United States, capturing large whales for public display was banned decades ago, meaning no one can force this modern-day leviathan into a cage where it would most likely suffer. Lastly, we go to one of the most elusive monsters of the ocean, the colossal squid. It took scientists a full century to even see one alive. While dead and dying adults have been found randomly on the surface and on fishing lines over the years, a living squid wasn't filmed in its natural habitat until March 2025, when a research team aboard the Smith-Ocean Institute vessel Falker recorded a 30-centimeter juvenile at a depth of 600 meters near the South Sandwich Islands. Adult colossal squids are believed to grow significantly larger, being the largest known invertebrate on Earth. Scientists even describe the monster as sitting between myth and reality. Even the best equipment scientists have to offer can barely even get footage of it, nonetheless capture it and then attempt to keep it alive in some aquarium. Maybe one day in the future we'll have the technology, but right now it'll remain a monster of the deep. Each one of these 10 animals I talked about tells a different story. Some animals are just not made to be held in aquariums with our current technology. Whether they are monsters of the deep, dangerous to humans, or just shut down in captivity, the ocean is such a mysterious and dark place that some animals just adapted so well to its climate, they can't live anywhere else. The ocean also doesn't seem to want to hand over any of its monsters, and maybe it should stay that way. And at the end of the day, I know I say monsters and treat this as horror, but you have to remember these are just animals trying to survive. So make sure to always treat the ocean, animals, and the environment with lots of respect and love. So thanks for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And also comment which animal you thought was the most scary. Thanks.